You'll find a huge selection of Western outfits for the young to not so young mama. No need to shop anywhere else. That boot store. Open Tuesday through Thursday 9 to 5. Friday and Saturday 9 to 5:30. That boot store next to Bill Bird Kia on 15th Street, Panama City.
Chuck was terrible at fishing. He spent many frustrating hours attempting to get results he saw from internet videos, aggravating trial and error fishing trips, and misguided advice from well-intended friends. Chuck is happy now with his newfound success after he visited Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, where we keep fishing fun, simple, and successful. See us soon at Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, located directly off Highway 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach.
Turf Pro Lawn and Pest Control. They take pride in caring for their customers' property by providing lawn and whole house pest control. Whether you have roaches or any other unwanted bugs in your home, Turf Pro has you covered. Or if your lawn needs weed control, fertilize, insect control, Turf Pro has you covered by providing custom treatments to meet your property's needs. No property is the same, so why should it be treated that way? Turf Pro, where the blue and yellow trucks make your lawn green. Call 850-890-5820.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271DM Mariana, WVLQ Port St. John, powered by Pepsi, ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the next evolution of sports talk radio. The biggest stories and the biggest reactions.
Now.
And now we're taking
With the first pick.
This is the last ball you got in the bag.
the Inside Drive. From college to the pros, interviews with the newsmakers, sports betting, your phone calls, and more. And now, the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey. Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good morning, Florida Panhandle. We are live inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. You're listening to the Inside Drive. My name is Ryan Mulvey, the host, joined with me every day by Jay Henley, our Director of Instruction out there at Bay Point Golf Club. You can listen to us across Panama City Beach, Panama City 30A, all the way down to Mexico Beach, stretching all the way to Destin on 104.3. You can listen to us 101.9 along the Forgotten Coast, all the way down there to Apalachicola, and then up there in Mariana on 102.1. Going all the way up to Dothan, even though this morning there was a little accident that happened and that big, beautiful radio tower in Mariana actually came down. Luckily, nobody was hurt, so that's a beautiful thing. The great thing about ESPN Northwest Florida, even though you may not be able to stream it or listen to it on the radio in that frequency, you can go to ESPNPC.com and click Listen Live, or you can go to your Google Play Store or your Apple Store and download the ESPN Northwest Florida app and listen to it live as well.
2 steps forward, 1 step back.
That's right. You may not be able to tune in on your radio, but there's 17 other ways that you can listen to us live here in the Florida Panhandle.
We've got some listeners up in that area.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to get it back up and running.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can also listen and watch, even though we have faces for radio, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Just search ESPN Northwest Florida, and you can go watch us live. The phone lines are always open here. It's 850-215-6290. We'd love for you to give us a call. We can talk any kind of sports and talk golf. And John Tatum was giving me a bunch of crap yesterday about all the hockey talk. And I was like, look, there's hockey fans in the Panhandle. I got to give the people what they want. Unfortunately, hockey didn't go so well last night.
For all you guys listening out there that doesn't know much about hockey, I'm hoping that my questions are allowing you some interest in the hockey, because I tell you what, I'm kind of with John Tatum on it.
John Tatum's like, hockey draft? What the hell are you talking about? I said, it's important stuff. It's going on right now. We will have every Wednesday on the line at 12 p.m. Central Time. Keith Fleming will be joining us. He'll be joining us today right there at 12 o'clock our time, 1 o'clock Central Time. He's a writer for Fantasy Six Pack, the director of daily fantasy sports content for Fantasy and Frames, and you can find him at Keith Fleming on Twitter. He had a great week last week with all of his DraftKings picks, as well as some of his favorites to win and that kind of stuff. So we're going to be recapping last week, talking about the upcoming upcoming tournament this week, doing some PGA Championship futures, which is next week, which is pretty crazy, and maybe even talk a little bit about some NBA DraftKings stuff and some potential, as it's only a couple months away, fantasy football, which we know is some of the biggest stuff out there. Again, you're listening to the Inside Drive live on ESPN Northwest Florida. Bay Point Golf Club, come out and play some golf with us. It's starting to get a little bit warmer out there, which is a great thing, because what happens when it's warmer?
Ooh, the ball flies further.
Perfect. Yes. He was like 0 for 7 yesterday, but he's 1 for 1 today. So we're off to a good start. The ball flies further. That ball compresses a little bit more when it's warmer, which gives you more spring off that club face.
Yeah.
My drives will go 150 yards now. Awesome.
It's funny you should say that. I've got some stats that we'll talk about a little bit later about the average driving distance based on handicaps.
Okay.
You'd be surprised. It's probably not as far as you think.
Yeah.
More people, how far do you hit the ball? Yeah, I hit it 300. You go out and play with them. They're hitting it 275. Just a common thing. Everybody's got to bump up that ego. But come play golf with us out there. Don't forget about our local players pass. That is for the 5 surrounding counties if you have a local ID, as well as anybody who has an active military ID. We, of course, appreciate their service. They get to pay a one-time registration fee each quarter, get a free round of golf, and then you can play for a reduced rate every time you come out and play, no matter what time of day it is. We do have the Bay County Chamber of Commerce Spring Classic coming up in 2 days now. That's an 8:30 shotgun start. They've got about 120 players right now, but there's still a couple spots available if you'd like to register for that tournament. And then don't forget, come join us on Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 11 for our delicious breakfast out there at Bay Point Golf Club.
Is it getting time for green aerification? I can't remember.
We have a very, very small 1/4-inch tine, which is about the size of a pencil head, coming up on Monday. That's a really simple one. Doesn't really affect play too much.
Gotcha.
That'll be healed up in a few days. Then we do a larger one in June, and then our big one is in August when the summertime kind of winds down and everybody goes back to school. And also, it's the warmest time of year when you have to aerate your greens. You want that grass to be growing if you aerate. When the grass is not growing, it's not great horticultural practices.
In layman's terms, all you're trying to do is just get that oxygen going.
Yeah, so the benefits of aeration, obviously you're removing that layer of thatch, which is compaction from mowing the greens every day, rolling the greens, people walking on them. Compaction is not good for turf. I mean, you look at any sports field, especially in soccer and football, where everybody's going up and down the field, you start to see that grass wear out. Compaction in thatch doesn't allow the water to get in the soil, the nutrients to get into the soil and all that stuff. So aeration is such an important process to keeping golf course turf healthy. And not just golf course turf. If you got a beautiful yard, you're probably aerating it a few times a year. It's very, very important to get those nutrients and things down into the soil and all that good stuff. Like I mentioned, we are sitting inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. You can visit them at 2251 West 23rd Street in Panama City. You can give the dealership a call at 850-250-1403, or you can call Kramer Marine and Outdoor at 850-851-0453. They are a Yamaha outboard full-line dealer with Yamaha Master Certified mechanics on staff there. They can get you back out on the water ASAP, and it's going to be another beautiful weekend to get it back out on the water and maybe enjoy some fishing, maybe some Shell Island action. Maybe you're just going to go out for a nice cruise along the bay. Lots of options here to do in Bay County and Panama City Beach. Like I mentioned, we got Keith Fleming coming up at the top of the hour. We're looking forward to talking to him. Don't forget about the Bay Point Billfish Open. That's coming up in 49 days. I'm not going to go through it as much as I did yesterday, but that gets kick-started on June 28th with the Bay Point Golf Scramble at the golf club. Tournament check-in, captain banquets, all that good stuff happens that night. And then Thursday, June 29th, is when kind of everything gets started. The tournament gets started for the actual Billfish tournament at 9 a.m. Everybody goes out, starts to try to find those big marlins and tunas and all the various categories that they have. Jay, what happens if they catch a state record blue marlin out there?
Cha-ching!
Cha-ching, baby! That's right.
Throw out that number for everybody out there.
$2 million? Is it $2 million?
A little bit higher?
3.
No.
4.
In between. I said no. 2.5
million.
He's going to remember this tomorrow. We're going to test him one more time. That's a great $2.5 million prize if you catch a state record blue marlin, which the last Bay Point Billfish tournament had a state record blue marlin. We've been talking about your tip of the week. I'm going to talk about the Devils here in a second.
Yeah.
I'm not really too excited about it, but it was nice. David was mentioning something right before we closed the studio door, talking about the golf swing, and you see, and you were talking about it the other day. It's when you're talking about hear people that slice the ball or whatever. They slice the ball. If you're a right-handed golfer, that means it's going left to right. So the natural mind tells you, okay, I need to aim further left. Right. But what that actually does, it may end up in a better spot, but what you're actually doing is you're creating more angle across the ball, which means you're going to create more spin and a bigger slice by doing that, and vice versa. The same thing if you hook the ball. Right. People aim further right to reduce that, to make that hook go better in the fairway. That's not actually what's going to help. That's going to make the hook bigger. Yep. You're creating more angle across the golf ball. So one of the things, and I'm sure you work on it with your instruction, and you can touch on it a little more, is when you're trying to learn how to hit the ball straight, there's two constants in your golf swing. One is your target, and one is how you're aligned to that target. And you will want to align your club to that target, and you want your body line, which is the line that your feet create, your hips create, and your shoulders create, to be parallel to that target line. You see so many people line up their body to the target. Well, what that actually does is, instead of having those, I'm preaching to the choir, but we're telling the guests here, what it actually does is, it takes two parallel lines and actually makes that body line point like that. So your arms are attached to your body. So you're always going to swing down your body line. So what happens when you do this, it's going to have to create some kind of manipulation to get that club face square to hit the ball straight. Because our mind knows where our target is. So if you go out there and practice, you got a big slice, whatever it may be, instead of diving into the Golf Digest magazines and looking at all these very specific things, line up square to your target and just tell yourself, hit the ball to your target. Hit the ball to your target. Is that pretty much how it goes?
No,
Jay?
it is. Yeah. I mean, the grip is obviously, I call it the GPS of your golf ball.
Gas, GPS, PGA, all that stuff.
Yeah, there you go. And so typically, if I've got a student where it's going a little left to right or whatever it may be, typically I'm making their grip a lot stronger. And what that means is basically the left palm is facing more to the ground and you're holding it more in your fingers. So that's your first step in curing that slice, is making sure that the left hand, for right-handed golfers, is basically the palm is facing more to the ground, and you can see about 3 knuckles on that left hand. That's your first. I mean, you got to work on that, and you might have to work on that for a year before. But
and you may be playing golf for 20 years and not realizing that your grip has adjusted, and all of a sudden that changes how things are going with your golf swing. So the basics are so important.
But it's like we were talking about before the show. We came onto the air. Is that Nicklaus was a fader of the golf ball. Bay Point, you got to be able to work the ball a little left to right at Bay Point.
Yeah, so, that was funny. I didn't even realize that the other day. I was talking to who came into my office the other day. We started kind of going Coach Moon. Coach Moon came in because he's got about another 2 months before he can really start full swinging. And he's now claimed he's lost I think he said an 8th grader yesterday, because he had the surgery and all that stuff, and he's been losing a ton of weight. And I think he's down like 90 pounds is what he said. Wow. So he's looking great, but he's good. He's wanting to get out there, and he's frustrated because all he can do is putt. And then we were talking about how his swing's going to be probably a lot different now, because obviously he's losing 90 pounds. That's going to change how you rotate your body. And he's talking about I may end up hooking the ball now. And I was like, and then I started going hole by hole at Bay Point, and I was like, hole 1, that's a fade. Yep. Hole 2 is a par 3. Hole 3, you can maybe hit a little tight draw. You could. Hole 4 is definitely a fade. Hole 5, just hit it and close your eyes and good luck. Hole 6 is a fade. 7's a par 3. 8's a fade. 9 straight. 10's a par 3. 11,
there's more room.
There's more room right than left. Mark McKinney over there on the left side of 11, he has a lot of balls that end up in his pool. But then 12's a fade hole. 13 straight. 14's a fade hole. 15 straight. 16's pretty straight, but 15 you can definitely hit the fade. The only hole that really is a draw hole is the last hole, and that's hole 18, which you could still push it a little bit to the right. So, if you need to learn how to hit the fade, come visit Jay at Bay Point Golf Club. But yeah, I mean, it's so counterintuitive in the golf swing. If I want to hit it straight, I got to feel like I'm hitting it to the right, because the golf swing is rotating. You're a rotating motion. I'm talking a right-handed golfer, of course. Right. So to hit it straight, you've got to feel like you're hitting it over that right field fence, because when that club gets to squaring, it's rotating through. So it's got to feel like it's going to right field. So then when it squares, it goes straight and then comes through. If that thing feels like it's going to left field, you're going to do the old over-the-top hook or giant cut. So keep the golf swing simple.
Yeah. I mean, I had two baseball students yesterday. They're all from Georgia. They just bought a house in Bay Point.
Nice.
And they were fun to be around. It was great. But they're both about 22 years old. They both play college baseball.
Yep.
And using those analogies of, like you said, right field and slowing down that tempo is obviously a big key in it. But, using those analogies. That's why if you come see me at Bay Point, one of the first questions I'm asking is, what kind of sports did you play growing up? That way I can kind of talk to you a little bit about the golf swing in a basketball mentality or football, baseball, whatever it may be. So visit www.golfwithjay.com and
go ahead, Dave.
Jay, which athletes are the easiest to pick up the sport the quickest?
Ooh, that's a
good question.
That is so baseball, I think, is the toughest. Out of all of them, I think. Basketball, it's always been said that if you have a very big vertical leap, so basketball players can drive the ball typically a long ways. Kind of like you, Ryan. When Ryan swings, he jump. You jump out of your shoes just about
a little bit. Yeah. I also have a great vertical leap.
You do. Yeah, you do.
So it does go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Vanilla Vic out there, baby.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's one thing. Me and my son Parker went through an Achilles heel surgery at a young age, and I know Ryan.
Which is ironic. I had a double Achilles tendon surgery when I was 5 years old, and my flexibility is terrible, but I always feel like I can pop a little quicker.
Yeah, and we've talked about your 2-on-2 basketball games, up in Jersey back in the day, which is so cool.
The Mulv Dog Invitational. If anybody's listening up there from Dirty Jersey, you remember those Memorial Day weekend Mulv Dog Invitational. So that's a story for another day.
But you can dunk a 10-foot, or could you dunk a 10-foot goal?
I could dunk one of those mini basketballs when I was in my heyday in high school. But I could always get the rim. But like you said, Vanilla Vic.
Right.
So I'm going to get on my next adult flag football jersey.
Yeah. But I mean, to circle back around, I think obviously basketball players can hit the ball a long way because of their vertical leap. But tennis, I've had a lot of tennis players come through, and I'm seeing a lot of tennis players transition into golf and have some success. I've got a couple students up in Georgia that has moved on to the state championship in Georgia in the next week, and they transitioned in 2019 from tennis over to golf, and I think it's such an easy transition, and it's to answer your question.
Yeah, I mean, guys like Marvin Colley, who's a good friend of the, I'll call him a good friend of the program, just a good friend, good dude, world-renowned amateur tennis player. He's absolutely fantastic, and he's really good at golf too. I mean, tennis is very similar to golf. Again, you're talking about leverage with the ground. When you're hitting a forehand or a back, where's your leverage coming from? It's coming from your footwork and where you're pulling from that ground. But your hands also work a lot in the tennis swing as well, which you don't want to be too handsy in the golf swing. But if you're good with your hands in the golf swing, you can make some good recoveries when you're coming through impact for sure.
Yes.
I always thought hockey was a good pair. Nothing about hockey. A lot of good hockey players are good golfers as well, and it's a similar move. It's not quite the same because with a slap shot you're really kind of going out with your right hand and rotating over, but the wrist shot and all that kind of angle and stuff, and again using that ground as leverage. So you see a lot of hockey players that do well. But look at the match that's coming up here in June. You've got two basketball players, and I believe there's two football players off the top of my head. I can't exactly remember.
Yeah, in Vegas.
Yep, on the Wynn course right there on the Strip, which is pretty incredible for sure. I do have to mention that my poor Devils last night. It's 100% my fault. I wore the jersey. I probably shouldn't have wore the jersey. I didn't watch the game, which was part of what should have happened. But somebody had commented this morning and said you should have been wearing what you were wearing on Sunday. Would have been probably a little awkward if I wore football cleats and an adult flag football uniform into coach from volleyball, but I don't know. The Devils, we'll talk more about it later if we have time, but in my opinion, they're very young. They won their first playoff series in I don't know, I think it was 11 years. A lot of guys under the age of 25, and Carolina's got some vets with Jordan Stahl, who's been in the league for a long time. Rod Brendamore is a fantastic coach, and I just think the Hurricanes are just a little too much for the Devils to handle. That 8-4 victory was, I think, an anomaly in the series, and I'd love to say the Devils have a chance to come back and win it, but I just don't. I don't think it's going to happen. open.
Do you think it's a coaching style thing that's going on, or like?
Well, Lindy Ruff, the head coach, he's been in the league forever, coached many teams. He's been on the Devils for a short period of time now. He kind of, at the interview after the game, he couldn't even really explain. They got off to a good start, but then just the second period, they just looked flat. They weren't skating fast, and Carolina I didn't see it, dominated the play and scored like 4 goals in like the matter of 6 or 7 minutes. And you can't recover from that in a hockey game.
Well, we've talked a little bit about coaching styles this week. Is he more of an emotional type coach, or is he more of a...
Lindy Ruff's not a very emotional guy, that's for sure. Versus like a Rod Brendamore, who played on the Carolina Hurricanes' only Stanley Cup winning team. Very emotional guy. He was very passionate on the ice, big physical guy. So, yeah, I think, the coaching, the emotional coaching in NHL may not be quite as important, but if you don't have that from your coach, you got to have it from your captains and your leaders out there.
Yeah.
And we talk about that kind of stuff all the time. But, yeah, bummer. 3-1 series lead going back to Carolina. It's probably going to get taken care of in the next couple of days.
No, come on, man. Have some faith.
I have faith, but I'm also a realist when it comes to sporting sports, because if you bet with your heart, you usually end up losing a lot of money. So I haven't bet on the Devils this entire series because the first 2 games I bet on with the Rangers, and they lost those. So I can't believe I haven't mentioned this yet. I don't know if she's listening because she's over hanging out with the kids at Shipwreck Island Water Park. University Academy had a field trip over there today.
Awesome.
But it is Beth and I's 10-year wedding anniversary.
Happy anniversary!
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. So very blessed. We've built a lot here since we've been in Panama City Beach, and I know she works her butt off and just having a lot of fun. So happy 10-year anniversary. We're going to try to celebrate a little bit this weekend because obviously life during the week is very, very busy.
Yes.
But when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about those the local baseball and softball teams. Arnold Marlins got it done last night. Very proud of that team. Got a lot more games coming up tonight. Again, you're listening to the Inside Drive live here inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. Keith Fleming coming up at the top of the hour. We'll be right back.
I'm at a gym zone.
Your attention, please. ESPN Northwest Florida reminds you it's the law. It's the law. When there's a double red flag, stay out of the water, stick your toes in the sand, grab a cold drink, and listen to live sports.
Swung on, miss, strike 3.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Double play!
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Wednesday morning. As we head into this afternoon and evening, some sun and a high of 83 with a gentle breeze at 9 miles per hour coming out of the southwest. For tonight, partly cloudy skies and a low near 72. Tomorrow, partly cloudy throughout the day with possible thunderstorms in the afternoon and evening and a high around 81. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us at the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
Now, the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey.
We're going to have a talk.
Tell me what you know. Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios.
It's a frantic noise.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back back. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida, sitting inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. Also, don't forget to check out South Oak Title and Closing. They've got 20 locations across the country, but 4 great locations right here along the Florida Panhandle, over there in Destin, 30A, Panama City Beach, and up in Lynn Haven. Real estate is hot across the Florida Panhandle, and if you need a great closing and title company to get the deal done, make it easy for you. They do a lot of great work. Their offices are all beautiful. Go check them out, South Oak Title and Closing. And, of course, if you're looking for a real estate company to do those deals.
Boat tours, too.
Boat tours as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
Hey, just got to pile it all on. You got to do whatever it takes for your clients.
Yes.
But that's Beach House Sales Development. Beth, my wife, again, happy 10-year anniversary, and her 8 other beautiful agents that they have. They're all experts in their craft and can get any deal done, and will make sure they have your interest best in mind. You can check out their website. It's Beach House Sales and Development. Just search it there on Google. All sorts of good stuff going on out there. We had a little quick lesson with David there in the break, and if you guys were watching live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, you can go back and take a look. We were talking about parallel lines in the golf swing, which is such a tough thing to do because it just doesn't feel right. But you got to commit to it to hit straight shots, especially if you're an athlete.
Yeah. Well, and I think with me, I'm kind of more of an artist per se, so I try to create a blank canvas, with each shot.
This is getting deep.
And you have you have to paint a picture with that blank canvas.
That's right. That's right. That's it right there.
I mean, we're so logically what's my number? 180 yards. Should I hit 6-iron? Paint that picture with your eyes, and if you do have a little bit of art, go for it. Go play golf. I think it's an art. It's not a science.
No.
I mean, it's a little bit of a science.
Science goes into it, but if you get too caught up in the science side and the numbers and all these positions, it can really be a detriment. I mean, look at Bryson DeChambeau. He was obviously, he's like a physicist and brilliant, won the U.S. Amateur, won the U.S. Open, and then he kind of started pushing a little more, trying to get more distance, and he just gets so much in there with the technical stuff that I think it's affected his game in a negative way.
Yeah, very analytical, and we can talk about Jordan Spieth and his caddy. I know they're very vocal when they talk, and at some point it's like they're kind of beating it up a little bit. It's like, man, just hit the shot.
Yeah, just hit the ball.
Yeah, hit the ball.
And if you're struggling with your distances and stuff like that, go out and play around and don't shoot yardages.
Right.
Just say, okay, I feel like I'm about 150 yards away. I'm gonna pull my 8-iron and I'm just gonna swing and see what happens.
Well, me and you grew up that way too. I didn't have rangefinders back in the 90s, and I know I'm kind of telling my age somewhat here, but yeah,
everybody knows you're good.
Yeah, I got gray hair going on, but yeah, no, I think you're right though, man. Go out without a rangefinder and just it's all about feel. And that's the way to do it.
And just have fun.
Yep.
Just have fun. But there's obviously a lot of technical stuff that goes into it, but you could get way overwhelmed by that kind of stuff.
Sure.
All right, talking about the local baseball and softball teams, Arnold, the varsity baseball team, had a huge win last night over West Florida, 4-0 to move on to the regional final coming up here on Friday. Great pitching performance. 2 pitchers used, which was great because this is a marathon to get to that state championship. Ethan Gill pitched 3.1 innings and then followed up by Cooper Moss, who finished out the game with 3.2 innings. So congratulations to those 2 boys on their shutout performance. Arnold got off to a hot start, scoring 2 in the bottom of the first, following it up with 2 more runs in the bottom of the second, and then just cruised on the rest of the game with no other score happening. So congratulations to the Arnold Marlins on winning that game. South Walton, no surprise here. That Tokyo, we'll go with Tokyo. Tokoi.
I like Tokyo.
Tokyo. Tokoi Creek played South Walton in the regional semifinal there. South Walton won that game 14-0. They took care of business. Got out to a real hot start, scoring 5 runs in the bottom of the first, followed up by 2 runs, and then scored 7 more runs in the bottom of the third, and then going into the 5th inning, Tokoi. I don't have to say that name anymore, thank God.
Yeah,
didn't score any runs, so that 10-run rule came into effect in the bottom of the 5th. So congratulations to them moving on. And then Mariana, their season came to an end last night. They were the 8th seed in that regional, and they lost to Providence School 10-0. So great season for Mariana up there, but unfortunately their state championship bid does come to an end. today you've got several games on the docket. I'm excited for the local schools. You've got Mosley, who's going to be playing it's Fleming Island. It's a home game. Go out and support those Mosley Dolphins. It's at 6 p.m. coming up tonight. Should be a pretty good matchup. Mosley's got the serious advantage in this one. They average 7.6 runs per game, where Fleming Island only averages 3.5. So hopefully Mosley can take care of business tonight, but go out and support those local boys and girls. You remember playing high school sports and how much it meant when people came out and watched. I mean, it's no different now, and that's what's going to help grow future sports here is getting these big crowds out every night.
Well, not only, I mean, we're mentioning you guys on the radio. I didn't have that growing up. I remember the times in high school when I did good things, either throwing a baseball, pitching, or shooting a good number. You always walked in the hallway that next morning a foot taller.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
And so it's and that's why sports are so important.
Yes.
It is.
Yes, there's no doubt. And then you've got Bozeman. They're going to play their first regional state championship game tonight against Franklin County. That is actually down there at Franklin County. So good luck to Bozeman tonight. Looks like it should be a pretty close game. Bozeman scores 7.5 runs per game on average, where Franklin County scores 6.5 runs on average per game. So good luck to the Bozeman varsity baseball team tonight. Hopefully they can get that win done. And then you got one more local game tonight. You've got North Bay Haven girls softball is taking on Baldwin. That's going to be at 7 p.m. Over there at Baldwin. Just a quick scoring record. Should be a tough one for North Bay Haven. Baldwin scores 7.9 runs per game to Bozeman 6.2. Overall record for North Bay Haven is 11-13, but they won their district tournament, and that's how they got into the state playoff championship. Baldwin has got a great solid record of 22-4. But hey, that's why you play the game. So good luck to those North Bay Haven girls. And then tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more on the show, but just previewing Bozeman's playing Franklin County in their 1A softball state championship. Bozeman's 16-7. Franklin County is 18-8. Should be a pretty good softball game, averaging almost the same runs per game. Good luck to them tomorrow. And then just previewing, since Arnold got the big win last night over West Florida, they're going to play Baker County away at Baker County at 7 p.m. on Friday. That's going to be a good test in this state playoff tournament if they can get that one done and move on. Although Arnold does have the advantage in average runs scored at 6.2 runs scored per game to Baker County's 4.9. But I think Arnold got off to a great start with just using two pitchers for 3 innings each yesterday, because that's one of the big things we talked about, is these pitch counts. And you're playing 2 games this week, potentially 3 games next week, trying to run this whole state playoff tournament in 2 weeks. You got to be very strategic. So I think Arnold couldn't have got off to a better start last night using those 2 pitchers for under 4 innings each. I don't know what their exact pitch count was, but pretty cool stuff.
Cool.
Got to give a shout out to Dynasty Elementary Volleyball. They got the victory last night in the semifinals with the championship game now coming up on Thursday. It's going to be a really, really tough one. One of the awesome things about this volleyball league is the fall was the first league for rec volleyball that Southern Elite has done. This spring has almost doubled in both elementary and middle school leagues, and the competition is just fierce, and it's awesome. So going to have a tough matchup against the Teal Tornadoes, which the coach of that, Miss Skaggs, was actually Liam's first grade math teacher.
Okay.
So it's funny how it all comes together.
Yeah.
And then the Lady Sons, the middle school team that Ryan's on, that I also help out coach, they won their playoff game, their semifinal lower bracket game, so they'll be playing in the lower bracket middle school championship on Thursday as well. So kudos to all those girls. They've been working hard all season. We've been having a lot of fun. Volleyball is a fun one because you can coach it, but when you're practicing, you can also get in there and play too, which is a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
I got some middle schoolers that are taller than me.
Have you hit BP yet? Have you done any batting practice with Liam at all out on the field?
We've done a couple times after an official practice where we've done a little adults versus kids, and Liam loves that kind of stuff. And using a 27-inch bat, I have a tendency to miss it every once in a while. But we've had some fun. We've done some BP. Liam, there's some great places locally that you can go to for some great batting practices.
Now, when you become an official baseball coach, it's when you have the glove in the left hand, a bat in the right hand, and you're able to toss the ball.
Toss it out of the glove and dink. Yep.
You're a baseball coach then.
Yeah,
dude.
that's official. That's the rite of passage, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. So good luck to everybody playing tonight. Those men and boys and girls, I should say. Coming
soon
up again.
To be men and women.
Yeah, soon to be men and women. That's for sure. Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll be joined by Keith Fleming. He's our weekly regular contributor. He's the writer for the Fantasy Six Pack, as well as the director for the DFS content for Fantasy and Frames. You can follow him at Keith Fleming on Twitter. We'll be excited to recap all his great picks from last week. And then, the tournament this weekend, not quite as a star-studded field as usual. So there's not as, it's probably, which actually I think in my opinion makes it a little bit harder to pick.
I can't wait to hear Keith on. I was looking through. There's a lot of people that's bailed out this week. I don't know what's going on.
Well, it's a week before a major championship, too. So you definitely kind of see a lot of that stuff going on. Yeah. Want to jump back into the NCAA Golf Regionals, give us an update. It is the final round going on today. It's going to be a tough one for Florida State. North Carolina State's 8 under par for the tournament, 2 under on their round today. Looks like they've got, they're about halfway through their final round, so it looks like they got that one kind of locked up. University of Arizona's second place right now at -2. Texas Christian University, TCU, the Horned Frogs, are even par. Wake Forest is +1 for the tournament, and Arizona State might be the best shot. They're +6 on their round today and +2. And Florida State's 2 shots back of that 5th and final spot, +1 on their round today. They had a little bit tougher round yesterday, ended up shooting 8 over par as a team. But they have only got, some of their players have 1 hole to go. Some of their players have 4 holes to go. So hopefully they can finish strong, make some birdies, and get into that national championship and those coveted top 5 spots in the regional. I know Lipscomb University, their first ever NCAA championship playing in the regional. So not a lot of expectations, especially against the competition they're playing. But they've had a couple individuals. I know Lauren Thompson was in the top 20 as of yesterday. So hopefully she's having a good round today. She's +2 on her round today, so she's tied 27th. I'm not exactly sure how the individuals work. I'm guessing that if you're on the team, you get in as an individual, and then there's maybe another 10 individual spots to go on to that national championship stroke play. So she's still got 9 holes to go. Maybe she can, go 3 or 4 under par on that back 9 and make a run. Excuse me, at going to the national championship. But let's hope Florida State can make a good run on these next few holes and get themselves back into that top 5. There'll be a lot of scoreboard watching going on the next couple hours, especially with Arizona State right there at +2. I mean, Florida State could end up, finishing at +4, and Arizona State could go 3 over the rest of the way and end up missing by a shot. So that's where when we talked to Amy last week and Shannon and Trey and all the golf coaches, every shot matters. Every shot's important, whether it's for a double, a bogey, a birdie, or whatever it may be. They all add up to that same score. Everybody gets so caught up in, I just made a double, my round's over. Well, it all adds up to the same score. Yeah. So focus on 1 shot at a time, and we'll keep you updated throughout the program and see how they're doing.
Well, and I think, we're bringing on Phil Shomo next Tuesday at noon, and I can't wait to hear Phil Shomo's a mental coach for some Division I golf schools. And, we're talking about tournament play this week. It'll be cool to get some questions asked to Phil on those whole stretch, coming in, just to kind of see what the players are thinking and what he does to coach them.
Well, and it's how you can handle that pressure.
Yep.
How you handle that pressure when it matters is so huge in any sport. But golf specifically, because it's literally just you. You got nobody pitching you ball. You're not trying to hit. You're not trying to throw a pass. You're not trying to shoot and score a goal and whatever else you may be trying to do. Yep. You're taking it 1 golf swing at a time. And a 4-foot putt, that hole can look real small if you got to make that 4-foot putt to advance your team to the national championship. Ooh. That's some serious pressure right there.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Circling back to the NHL, obviously the Devils lost last night to the Carolina Hurricanes 6-1. Carolina takes a commanding 3-1 series lead. The Seattle Kraken lost last night to the Dallas Stars. I believe that final score was either 5-2 or 6-2. I don't have it exactly pulled up, but they're now tied 2-2, so that's a pretty close series. Tonight you've got 2 big games going on. Both one of them has a chance to clinch. You've got the Toronto Maple Maple Leafs, who are down 3-0 to the Florida Panthers. They're going down to South Florida to play at home, with Florida a chance to advance to the to the Eastern Conference Finals. Thank you, David. Dallas won 6-3 last night. So that's more, I think, what everybody's expecting. So hopefully Seattle can give it a shot. Dallas is at home for the next game, so they could take a 3-2 series lead if they win that particular game. The odds to win the Stanley Cup are changing, obviously, every day based on what these series are doing. New Jersey Devils, unfortunately, now, if you want to place a miracle bet, they're plus 2,000 to win the Stanley Cup, being down 3-1 against the Carolina Hurricanes. And guess who's now the odds-on favorite to win the Stanley Cup?
The Maple Leafs.
They're down 3-0 to Florida, Jay. It's like you don't pay attention to what I'm saying.
Yes, I am.
The Carolina Hurricanes. I'm
going Maple Leafs. They're down 3-0. I
tossed that up there for you to say the Carolina Hurricanes, and you come at me with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I'm a fan of Rudy, man. I love underdogs.
Well, the good news is the Toronto Maple Leafs are the worst odds to win the Stanley Cup right now. They're at plus 2,500.
Perfect.
So put your $100 bet on the Maple Leafs, and then you can tell me to eat my words when they go on and win.
Let's talk to Keith about this at noon.
Yeah, I guarantee he's not going to say the Toronto Maple Leafs for winning the Stanley Cup Finals. The Florida Panthers are at a close second at plus 400 on average, with Carolina Hurricanes being plus 300. Surprising. Then the Vegas Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers are basically shot for shot at plus 450 to go on and win the Cup. Obviously, this changes daily based on how those series leads are going. Seattle Kraken still might be worth $100 to throw on the Seattle Kraken at plus 1,800 to go on and win that Stanley Cup final. You never know. That series is 2-2, so not as drastic as being down 3-0 and saying that they'll hopefully go on and win the Stanley Cup. But the Carolina Hurricanes are the odds-on favorite now to go on and win. And man, if I didn't watch the game, but if you watched that game last night, I think there's a real good reason why. They're just playing good hockey, playing good team hockey, and they're fast.
Yeah,
they're fast and looking good. Hey, Jay, when we get back, let's talk a little bit about maybe some college baseball and some college softball and some NFL schedule updates. Again, at the top of the hour, we'll be joined by Keith Fleming. He is a writer for Fantasy and Frames, director of the DFS sports content. And he's also a host of Two Off the Tee with our good friend Alan that calls in most days because he knows a lot of stuff about. He does. Although his two locks that we talked about yesterday were both busts. But that's how gambling works.
It is.
Yeah, I think everybody was a little bit surprised in the two NBA games last night. Probably not so much the Denver Nuggets, but the Boston Celtics losing the way they did. Joel Embiid looked really good last night.
Yeah.
But again, you're listening live from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. You can listen live on 104.3 in Panama City, 101.9 along the Forgotten Coast, 102.1 up there in Marianna, all the way to Dothan. We'll be right back talking more sports.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
It's the Atlanta Braves versus the Boston Red Sox. Game 2. Austin Riley, Sean Murphy, Ronald Acuna, and the Atlanta Braves bats are on fire. And tonight, it's exciting interleague play live from Truist Park. Coverage starts at 6, right after the afternoon underdogs on the Panhandle's home for the Atlanta Braves.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The new Smokin' Triple Stack at Firehouse Subs is stacked high with honey ham, smoked turkey, and slow-smoked beef brisket. To top it off, a portion of every purchase helps provide life-saving equipment to first responders. The Smokin' Triple Stack Sub. Get it for a limited time, only at Firehouse Subs. Participating U.S. locations. Firehouse of America, LLC, and Firehouse Subs suppliers together will donate 0.09% of purchases in 2023 at Firehouse Subs locations to the Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation for the purchase of life-saving equipment with a minimum donation of $1 million.
Here at Tracy's Fine Jewelry, we want to help you celebrate Mom this month. From mother's rings with her children's birthstones to unique one-of-a-kind pieces just like her. This month is meant to celebrate Mom. From our large selection of beautiful stackable bands to simple, elegant diamond necklaces that will bring a sparkle to her eye. This Mother's Day, show Mom how much you love her with a beautiful piece of jewelry that's as unique as she is. From Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
Take your next adventure in an award-winning Kia from Bill Bird Kia. The SUV family has movement that inspires, and we invite you to test drive the new 2023 Kia Soul, Seltos, Sportage, Sorento, or Telluride. You can command the road in a sedan from Bill Bird Kia. Drive away today in a new 2023 Rio, Forte, K5, or Stinger, and discover the all-new Kia at Bill Bird Kia. 2435 East 15th Street, Panama City, or anytime at BillBirdKia.com. Peace of mind you can trust at your local community dealer, Bill Bird Kia.
Do you suffer from political talk radio fatigue? Tune into the most fun and exciting new radio show on the Gulf Coast. It's The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey. From the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios on ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back. You're listening to Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We're sitting inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. Jay, that was 100% from memory. I didn't even have to look at my sheet on that one.
Yeah.
We're only, 8 days into this thing? It took me that long to remember it.
Absolutely.
You can visit them over on 23rd Street. They are also the Kramer Marine and Outdoors, a Yamaha outboard full-line dealer, master certified mechanics on staff, selling Seabourn, Spider, and Sundance boats. We'll have Kramer Day tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. Can't wait to talk to Chris and talk about when he was over there. Billy Napier was in town this past Monday doing some interviews, hanging out over there at Boardwalk Beach Resort, and I know his son, his kids are just characters.
They are.
But so is he, so it all makes sense.
Yep.
And we'll hear his opinion on the upcoming Florida season, as well as talking all sorts of good stuff. We talk all sorts of sports on here. And one of the things, this is a cool story that actually Bill, our new assistant golf professional out there at Bay Point Golf Club, turned me on to this one. There was these, you were talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs, right?
Yeah.
Stanley Cup favorites.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
kidding. Don't listen if we said that out loud. Unless you win, then it was the best beat you ever got.
Yeah.
There's these two Leafs. Leafs. They're not fans. We're going to call them anti-fans. They went viral. They're from Toronto, but they're actually Montreal Canadiens fans. But they had season tickets to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and every game they went to, they wore the opposing team's jersey to that game.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So they kind of pulled off this anti-fan thing, especially being Habs fans or Canadiens fans. So I thought that was pretty crazy. And I mean, imagine having the collection of jerseys that they have. And it was a father and a daughter combination. I think the daughter's probably in her 20s.
Yeah.
Dad's in her 50s. So that brought me to the question, if you had to choose one team to hate root against, who would that be?
Oh, is this in any sport?
Any sport. I want you to cover multiple sports on this one.
Oh.
I may even get David's opinion on this too.
Yeah, just the hate.
Who would you buy season tickets for and then wear the opposing team's jersey or just cheer for the opposing team every time, but buying season tickets for that college or pro sports team, whatever it may be? And we'd love to hear from you as well. The phone lines are open, 850-215-6290. Tell us who you would hate root for.
All right. So, Chris Kramer, I'm sorry.
You are a Georgia Bulldog.
I am a Georgia Bulldog, so we got to start with Florida for sure in the college football. Pro football, me being from the Atlanta area, I'm not a big fan of the Saints. They've got our number, and I'm not going to lie.
I don't know. This year may be a little bit different.
Could be a little different this year.
Could be a little different.
Even though we did see that the Falcons do have the easiest schedule coming up.
Hey, don't tease anything. I'm saving for another day.
Okay, right, yeah.
But yes, they do have, because they are in the NFC South, and the NFC South has changed so much in the last 2 years. It's insane.
Anybody on the Live Tour?
Oh, come on. What a hater. We talk about the Live Tour. We're fair and balanced here with the PGA and the Live Tour. You're going to hate all the Live Tour guys? Yeah, exactly. Come on, DJ. He's my fellow Coastal Carolina alum. Phil Mickelson.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody hated him on the PGA Tour anyway.
Right. So. Yeah. No,
what about baseball?
Baseball. That's a tough one. I mean, Probably the Mets, with the Braves.
Yeah.
Braves and Mets are always, and that's something that we've talked about before. That next series coming up in June, I think there's some there's some retaliation coming.
Is that going to be in Atlanta? Or
it will be in Atlanta. I think it's like June 10th. I'm
trying to find a series over the weekend when we don't have anything going on where we can take Liam and Ryan up there for their first ever Braves baseball game. Ryan's been to a Braves baseball game before, but I think she was like 6 months old. Naturally she doesn't remember that, but that may be a good series to try to make a move and go to. So.
Yes, yeah. What other sports? I mean, I don't know enough about hockey. Let's be honest.
We already know. You picked the Toronto Maple Leafs to win the cup from here on out. So I think that was been established.
That was basketball. Wow.
Basketball may be a little tougher if you're not really a big NBA fan.
Yeah, and our Hawks haven't been. The Hawks haven't been. I mean, Keith knows the ins and outs of the Hawks, man. It's crazy to talk to him about it. The Lakers, the Lakers, man, they seem like they're always winning. I don't know.
Not recently. Well, they won in the COVID year, but that's because they were in the bubble.
Yeah,
but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
I'll throw out some of mine, and then maybe we'll get David's opinion as well. From a college football standpoint, obviously I'm a Coastal Carolina Chanticleer, but Beth's an Auburn girl, so I dove in hard on the Auburn Tigers fan base and support and which is kind of awkward because they don't win a whole lot, especially playing in the SEC West. But they're on the up and up. Hugh Freeze has had the best transfer portal offseason. I think he's top 4 in the transfer portal recruiting class, if you want to call it that. So obviously Alabama is on the top of my list when it comes to college football. And I also, on the Coastal Carolina standpoint, I'm going to throw out Appalachian State.
Yeah.
That is one of our biggest rivals in football, especially since we moved into the Sun Belt Conference. On an NHL side of things, being a New Jersey Devils fan, I despise the New York Rangers. So the season is a win because we beat the Rangers in the first round of the playoffs. Nice. I'm also anything Philadelphia sports. Growing up in New Jersey, Philadelphia sports just drive me crazy. And both of my roommates in college, we had a house together. Our sophomore through senior years were from Philly.
And I know you don't like the dogs, and now all the dogs are going to the Phillies, so that's even more of a like.
Yeah, and I don't not like the dogs as much as I like Alabama. I think just because I've been doing stuff with Coach Hale for so long, I kind of developed that Georgia animosity, you could say. Now I did live in South Carolina for a while and went to Border Bash, and I had a lot of friends that went to the University of South Carolina, so that kind of pushed me to not like Georgia as much either. And I've been to Williams-Brice Stadium a few times. I saw Cam Newton play there one time, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So on the golf side, I'm not going to say I hate the LIV Tour. Tim Fincham on the PGA, I may root against him. Baseball, I'm kind of impartial to. Liam's dubbed us as Braves fans now, so I think I'm good with that.
Do it for the A.
But as a Niners fan, the list is runs deep and it cuts deep. I'll start with number 1, and that's America's team. You know who that is.
I do.
Dallas Cowboys.
We had Hef on last week, and he's a big Cowboys fan. He's listening in right now. So, there's your...
And that just goes back. I mean, I'll give my age. I was born in the mid-'80s, and I was born into the Niners' heyday. And then as I started remembering football games is when the Cowboys started beating us, seems like every year in the NFC Championship, except for that 94-95 season. But in recent years, it's been glorious because the last 2 playoffs, guess who we've knocked out of the playoffs? The Dallas Cowboys, including this past year, which I don't even get started on the Eagles in the NFC Championship. I don't know if we have enough time for that. But the Eagles, pretty much all of the, and I have nothing against the Commanders or the Giants, so just half of that NFC East I could do completely without. The Rams there for a little while, but like Deebo Samuel said, we've just been wiping the floor with the Rams as of late, even though they beat us in the NFC Championship 2 seasons ago, and they eventually went on. But the Seattle Seahawks are another one for me, and that's more of a recent rivalry within the last 15 years or so. There's so many in football because NFL.
What represents that rivalry? Is it logistically speaking, mileage, or is it?
I think the Niners Cowboys is a historical rivalry.
Yeah.
The Cowboys have 4 Super Bowls, 5 Super Bowls, and the Niners have 5 Super Bowls. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the New England Patriots both have 6. So I think it's a historic rivalry. The Seattle rivalry is more as of late, I would say, because they play each other twice a year, being in the same division. There was a period of time time where, the Seattle went to the Super Bowl, they won, and they lost. They went through the Niners to get that. The Niners had that one huge end of the season game where they stopped a touchdown pass on the goal line to get the number 1 seed, and Seattle ended up getting, I think, the number 5 seed in that particular one. So just a lot of recent stuff. And then the Eagles, their fans, I'm sorry if there's Eagles fans down here, their fans are just obnoxious. Yep. And even if you talk to, I forget whose wife it was, I think it was Fred Warner's wife, one of the Niners guys, when they went up for the NFC Championship, she's like, I'm never going back to Philadelphia again. It's a passionate, hardcore sports town, which I appreciate greatly, but just when you're on the other side of it, and then when I had to spend 4 years with 2 Eagles fans directly in my presence, it was just it was tough.
Wait, and I met a lot of people from the Missouri area, St. Louis. The Cardinals and the Cubs. That's a big rivalry.
One of my good friends, Travis, is a huge Cardinals fan, so I would say the Cubs is a despising. But we got a guest caller coming up soon, but we'd love to hear from you later in the show who your hate root team would be. David, I got to put you on the spot and ask you what it would be. I'm sure you've got a couple that come right on.
Right off rip, man. We can start with college football and we can go right into Auburn.
Yep, right back. But see, how can you hate somebody that you beat all the time?
I guess that does make sense, but still,
it's just the historical,
there, man.
There.
Especially when I was growing up. Fear the thumb. Yep. You know what I mean? Like that will always stick with me. Secondarily, I would have to go with the Florida Gators because of their dynasty with whoops, I put the wrong slate up. Because of their dynasty with Tim Tebow and all of that back in the day, and their fans were just like how Alabama fans are today. And then thirdly would be USC because I can't stand USC, and I was so glad when Vince Young and Texas took them down in that championship.
Southern Cal, not South Carolina.
Yeah. Sorry about that to the South Carolina fans out there. I know they take that seriously, but do better. For baseball, it would be the Yankees or the Phillies. Especially with Caveman Rick doing the show with me,
he's a Philly guy, right? Yeah,
through and through a Philly guy. So I've generated a new hatred for the Philadelphia Phillies, even though we're a divisional rival. And unless you're a Yankees fan, you got to hate the New York Yankees. And the NBA would be.
I'm not meaning to interrupt. If you're a Cowboys fan, you're also a Yankees fan because that's how that works. That's how that works. You wear your Yankees jersey with your Cowboys hat, or vice versa, because that's what you do when you're a bandwagon fan.
It makes a ton of sense. In the NBA, I'd go with the Los Angeles Lakers or the Detroit Pistons. And you don't like going back to the Cowboys. You really don't got to hate root for them because they mess it up themselves.
It's more of a joy in their the glutton for what happens with them. It's just crazy.
Absolutely. In the NFL, I would go with the Jaguars as a Titans fan and being in the AFC South. So you got to go that way. I know that's not a popular opinion because they're right down the road. Cincinnati Bengals for Adam Goff, and then also the Pittsburgh Steelers, because when I was growing up, I always felt like the Steelers and the Titans or the Oilers were a pretty big rivalry. In the NHL, Florida Panthers is the obvious answer, but anyone who likes hockey, kind of like the New York Yankees in baseball, the Pittsburgh Penguins are a team that's just very easy to hate. And then in the world of golf, I would go with Brooks Koepka, and I know that's not a great answer.
Which we may get Brooks on the show one day. I'll make sure it's on a Wednesday. David's here.
There you go. But honestly, I guess it was with that Full Swing documentary. It's like, man, I don't know. Hey, he's a great athlete. You can't take anything away from him. But it's just one of those guys that I would like to root against. But also his rival in Bryson DeChambeau, I don't like that guy either. Yeah. I'm more of one of those Joel Layman type of guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Joel Damon got
a man of the people.
Yeah, he is.
Him and Max Homa, man. You follow them on Twitter. It's just good stuff constantly. Yeah. But it's just a cool. I mean, and this father-daughter duo, they went all in on the hate route here against the Toronto Maple Leafs, because the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Montreal Canadiens, that's, you're from Canada. Now you got the Oilers and you got the Canucks as well. But the original six, you've got the Maple Leafs and the Canadiens. That's Alabama, Auburn right there of NHL. So hence the hate route and buying all the other jerseys and that good stuff. So, but we'll have a Keith Fleming coming up here at the top of the hour. But give us a call in that last segment. It'll be at 12:40. We'd love to hear the team you choose to hate root against. I just thought that was such a cool thing, and that's what makes sports great. Is you love your team and you hate other teams, and that makes those games that that you play against each other that much more exciting. And sports is just such a cool stuff. Don't forget, you can watch us live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Just search ESPN Northwest Florida. You can watch and listen to any shows after the fact as well on all those platforms. You can listen live and local on 104.3 in Panama City, 101.9 along the Forgotten Coast. And even though the tower got knocked over this morning up there in Mariana, you can listen to the future on 102.1, but you can also stream live on ESPNPC.com. Just click the listen live button, and don't forget to download our free mobile app. Just search 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Download that in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. When we get back, we'll be joined by Keith Fleming. He is a writer for Fantasy and Frames, director of the daily fantasy sports content, as well as a writer for Fantasy Six Pack and the host of Two Off the Tee. You can follow him at Keith Fleming. We'll be joined by him in just a moment. You're listening to The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Make yourself at my home, tell me where you.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
It's the Atlanta Braves versus the Boston Red Sox. Game 2. Austin Riley, Sean Murphy, Ronald Acuna, and the Atlanta Braves bats are on fire. And tonight, it's exciting interleague play live from Truist Park. Coverage starts at 6, right after the afternoon underdogs on the Panhandle's home for the Atlanta Braves.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida. Here is your weather forecast on this Wednesday morning. As we head into this afternoon and evening, some sun and a high of 83 with a gentle breeze at 9 miles per hour coming out of the southwest. For tonight, partly cloudy skies and a low near 72. Tomorrow, partly cloudy throughout the day with possible thunderstorms in the afternoon and evening and a high around 81. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
By now, you've heard us talking about Tiger TV Pro. Hi, David Hayes from the Afternoon Underdogs, here to remind you about this incredible streaming service with over 6,000 premium channels. And the cost, you ask? $15 a month. Yes, only $15 a month. Every sports channel is available, including the ACC and SEC network, the NFL, NBA, MLB, HBO, Showtime, and thousands more. For more info, go to our website at ESPNPC.com. Scroll down and click the Tiger logo.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271DN Mariana, WFIELD Q Port St. John, Paula Pese, ESPN Northwest Florida.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Back to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios.
It's alive! What's alive? We're alive!
On ESPN Northwest Florida.
That's right, Jay. Nothing's for free.
That's right.
You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida, as we do every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the Central Time Zone. We pivot from the morning to the afternoon. It's the only local show that does that you could say.
Absolutely.
Don't forget about our 3 great local shows. You got the Coach James Hale Show every Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Our personalities just change when it goes to AM to PM.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just it's like Wolf. What was that?
Wolf of Wall Street?
No, not the Wolf of Wall Street. A werewolf in I don't know if it's a werewolf in London, but it comes out and you turn in the world.
Yeah.
So we're werewolves this afternoon.
That's right.
But again, and also you join us every day, Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the Inside Drive. And then every afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m., you're joined by David Hayes and the Afternoon Underdogs. And don't forget, on Wednesdays, they are live from Dave & Buster's. You can stop by there. You've got David, Kyle, Amanda, and Adam, a cast of sports fanatics every Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. as they broadcast live out there from Dave & Buster's. Don't forget Dave & Buster's every Wednesday. You've got half-price cocktails as well as half-price games. If you're looking for something to do with your kids, maybe, I love Dave & Buster's too. I love playing all those games, but if you want to have some cheap drinks and some cheaper games, go out on Wednesdays afternoons. I believe we do have Keith Fleming on the line. Keith is a writer for the Fantasy Six-Pack, director of the DFS content for Fantasy and Frames, as well as host of 2 Off the Tee. Keith, how are we doing today?
Hey.
How are you doing?
Doing good, man.
Excellent.
What's going on?
Excellent.
Hey, Keith.
Hey, we're going to start with a question. I don't know if you were listening in that last segment where we were talking about hate rooting, but we had somebody, I think, message or text in, was mentioning, had a good question for us. I'm going to ask you that same question. If you were to compare your golf game to a college football team currently, what would that be? We'll let you go first. We'll let Jay go first, and then I'll chime in after that.
Oh, man, that's tough.
That's a tough one.
Should I take a jab probably at some of the listeners? I don't know if I want to do that right off the bat, but I would probably say the Auburn Tigers, because I was great at one time.
You're taking a jab right at me.
I probably still think I'm a lot better than I actually am right now.
Hey, we don't think we're better than we are. We think we suck.
You were 6 under through 13 Saturday morning, so come on, man.
I was, but made a bogey coming in and ended up not even winning money. But I do real quick want to wish you a happy anniversary, Ryan. I am someone who just celebrated 7 years with my amazing wife, Brittany, and 10 years is a real accomplishment. Happy anniversary to you guys. That's amazing, man.
We appreciate that. I think I'm going to get like a belt or a sash today to honor those 10 years of surviving, as Beth said it this morning. But yeah, Jay, chime in. What's your college football team golf game?
Ooh, Georgia Bulldogs in the early 2000s. With Mark Richt.
Great seasons, lots of hope, but just couldn't get it over the finish line.
You make it to the SEC championship, and then you come in with a triple bogey, triple bogey, triple bogey, triple bogey, triple bogey.
And hard to root against them, right? That's Jay, man. It's hard to root against.
Yeah,
I can root against them.
It just to pivot off of that, like with Kirby Smart, man. Like I love Kirby. I love what he's doing. We're talking about the emotion of what he brings to the football game, and I love Mark Richt. I do, I really do. But Kirby's just been a little more emotional, and has got the players, and that's what we thought about all week. The coaches bring the emotion and all that, and Kirby's doing that. So, anyways,
definitely, yeah. I'll chime in. It's going to be a little different. I'm going to say Alabama, as of recently, have the ability to win every time I go out there and play, but does it show up every time? Absolutely not. And I think that's my golf game in a nutshell. And David, what you got? I know you had mentioned something real quick before we jumped into this segment.
I'll go Colorado of last year.
Well, hopefully you and Colorado will continue to up your game as you.
That's the goal, baby.
Yep, absolutely. Just a quick, before we jump into all your good stuff, Keith, just a quick update. Florida State is now tied for 4th in the Raleigh Regional up there. Again, the top 5 teams do advance on to the national championship. They did just drop a stroke, but they had a couple birdies after we talked a couple segments ago, and Arizona State kind of continues to go the other way. Now, they have several holes still to play. Most of their girls have at least 4 or 5 holes to play, so a lot still could change, but that just shows how every stroke is so dang important in these regionals, especially when you're floating.
Is this their last chance to get in? Or is there, because I thought, don't they have like a last chance still, or is this it?
No, this is it. So they take the top 5 from the 6 different regional sites, and this is the first year on the women's side of golf that they've moved it to 5 teams. It's always been 4. The men's side's always been 5. There's also the way you can advance to an individual as well, with that national championship being both stroke play and match play. But Keith, let's jump right into your expertise. Last week, was the first show. It was the first time you came on, and you hit several home runs, not only when it came to the daily fantasy sports, but also on just betting in general. Why don't you recap that a little bit for us?
Yeah, to quote one of my favorite movies of all time, Billy Madison, when he wins the spelling contest, I felt like the smartest man alive. Wyndham Clark, one of my 10 plays, he went on to win. That is actually the 4th winner in the last 7 PGA events. It has been one of my 10 DK plays from the Fantasy Six-Pack article that I do each week. Had 9 out of 10 players make the cut. Thank you, Jason Day, for missing it by 1. That was the only guy that did not make the cut out of my 10 plays. And what I was really excited about, and it's a key in building DraftKings lineups, is you have to have cheaper plays that make the cut, because that's obviously you want your guys that you spend the most money on to do well. It's even better when somebody like Wyndham Clark at 7,800 goes on to win it, but you really need all six golfers to make the cut to have a chance of cashing and doing well on these things. And I had 4 players of 7,500 or less who all made the cut, including 2 in the 6,000 range. And if you can do that, that obviously gives you more money to spend on an expensive player, which, now these, Rahm, Scheffler type guys are over 11,000, and you only have 50,000 to spend on your 16 lineup. But it's hard to keep those guys out of your lineup each week with how much they've been winning lately.
Yeah, odds on, and just probably not a guarantee, but if you do have all 6 players make the cut in your DraftKings daily fantasy golf stuff, is that almost guaranteed you're going to at least win your money back? Is that fair to say?
Yes. I would say that if you're in a big tourney, I should say that.
Yeah.
If there's more than 200-300 people in it, yes, I would say that 95% of the time you're going to cash. The bigger the field, it's even actually more likely you're going to cash and do well because, obviously other people will have good lineup going into the weekend, but then they only have 4 golfers to get points from, to where you would have, 6 if you had all 6 make the cut.
Yeah. Well, I think from my perspective, Keith, is you correct me if I'm wrong, but I'll throw in maybe 5 or $6 $1 bets. Is it better just to go in like a $10 bet, one $10 bet versus 10 $1 bets? I mean,
I think the big deal is to do either single entries, which that means that no matter how big the field is, everybody gets just one entry. Because if you play, especially in these big ones that are not single entries, people are going to do the max amount of entries. There's professionals, as they call them. They use like algorithms and stuff that I don't understand, to win these things. So they'll have 150 lineups, say, in like the $20 contest they do on DraftKings that usually first place is like $250,000. To where if you're doing a single entry, you're just going against, one lineup from everybody else. The other big thing I've gotten into lately is either doing double up, which that means that, say, you bet $10, $20 in a double up, you only have to beat half the field, and you double your money. So you have really, you just need to be in the 51 percentile of the best lineups in that contest to guarantee you're going to double your money. Obviously, that's all you're going to win is double your money. But, we all like doing that. That's what you do on most betting anyway for, football and stuff. Your normal odds are, basically that way. And then the other thing is you can do head-to-head, which the only thing I don't like about it is you don't know who you're facing unless, say, you and Ryan, for instance, decide to do a head-to-head, which you can do. You can create one, invite somebody. Play
if we were doing a head-to-head in NHL future Stanley Cup winners, I think I got this one on lock.
I'm not participating, Ryan.
Oh, come on. That's the great thing about daily sports bet is you could just, you got a chance.
Yeah.
No matter what, even if you don't know what you're doing. I've proved that with some NASCARs in the past. So, but I would tell people to stay away from these big contests with multi-entries because you're just going to have a really hard time cashing. And honestly, if you want to find the most successful formula, it is to do the double-ups. I like the single entries because you can still have huge payouts. If you end up, say, first in a 900-person $12 entry, you're going to win probably $2-3 grand for first place. But it's just a lot easier to cash in that. But if you really want to look at the easiest way to make money, and if you use like the lineups I've given the last couple of weeks, they would have won almost any double ups using most of the entries. There was, I think, 1 week, 2 or 3 weeks ago where I only had like 7 out of 10 guys make the cut, so I'm not sure about that one. But these weeks that I have like 9 of 10 or 8 of 10, more than likely you're going to end up winning a double up. Using that, or you just have a lot better chances of finding a lineup that's going to cash.
Yep, that makes good sense. Yeah, and the key thing I heard you say in that little piece was if you're doing the big payout contest, make sure it's a single entry contest.
Absolutely, yes. 100%. It took me almost 3 years of doing DFS to realize that, and I wish I could have those 3 years back.
Well, congratulations on picking Wyndham Clark last week. I did my homework on Monday, and I could kind of see how you got into that bet and how you were a little bit infatuated with that bet because he had some top 20s coming in,
6 top 10s in 19 events.
Yeah. So you did. Yeah. I mean, kudos to you, man. You're doing your homework. I mean, I've got to start paying more attention to you, man.
Well, it's for me. It's about models, and I also look at recent play, obviously. And then the big thing is just, do they have success at that venue? I think that's a huge precursor. And finding comp courses, which is something that I put in my article in Fantasy Six Pack each week, because like Clark was one of those guys that he had done well at 2 of the 3 comp courses earlier in the year. So I felt pretty good about him playing well there, and I loved his price range at 7,800. And, obviously there's luck involved anytime you pick a guy that's 60 to 1 to win a tournament, but you can kind of, make educated guesses is what I call it on these things. And that's what I try to do every week is from usually 3 or 4 different factors, come up with guys that I feel pretty strongly are going to have a chance to at least be in contention. And especially with these DK, the cheaper ones, I think they're going to make the cut.
You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We've got Keith Fleming on the line. He's a writer for Fantasy Six Pack, director for the daily fantasy sports content for Fantasy and Frames. He's also the host of 2 Off the Tee. You can follow him at Keith Fleming on Twitter for all of his great insight. Keith, we appreciate you being on the line with us today. Let's pivot to the upcoming tournament, the AT&T Byron Nelson Classic. Not really a huge field. Jordan Spieth withdrew with an injury. A lot of times you see these tournaments leading up to major championships. You see a lot of guys drop off. However, Scotty Scheffler is still in that field. So let's jump right into the upcoming tournament and get your thoughts.
You got it. This is the 3rd year that they're playing at TPC Craig Ranch. It's a par 72, just over 7,400 yards and change. To be honest, it's kind of a boring course. It's just a lot of the same type holes over and over again. It's something you see at a lot of these TPC courses. You want to have players that make a lot of birdies and gain strokes off the tee because they're not penalized by really missing fairways here. Like all TPC courses, you want to look for players who excel from 175 yards or more into greens. And, it's a tough week, not only because, it doesn't have a lot of big names, as you mentioned, Spieth withdrew, but even with the guys that are there, you don't know if these top guys are there to try to win or more concerned about just getting their game right for the next week's PGA Championship. And it's almost at this point kind of a bad luck deal, like winning the par 3 contest at Augusta. We're going on 9 years since a PGA player won an event the week before winning a major. Rory was the last one to do it in 2014. Before that, my man, GOAT man, Tiger Woods did it in 07. Phil in 06, and then you got to go all the way back to Sandy Lyle in 88 and Lee Trevino in 71. This is something that's only occurred like 15 times in the history of the PGA Tour. Guys have won and then, 2 weeks later won a major, but to literally win an event and then go into the next week and win a major, it just doesn't happen much. So it's kind of a weird week, and I obviously took that into consideration with the plays. That's why I don't have Scotty Scheffler this week in my lineup. He hasn't done very well at this course in either try, even though other than here, he's done very well in his home state of Texas. I don't know how much Scheffler is, and I don't want it to sound wrong, but I'm just saying invested in winning this week with somebody like Scotty Scheffler. I know his goal is to win majors. I think he's more concerned about getting his game sharp to try to win at Oak Hill next week.
Which makes sense. And, what I thought was interesting, I was looking up a little bit about TPC Craig Ranch when you were talking about being a boring golf course. What I thought was interesting out there in Texas, they do have A1, A4 bent grass, which I don't know what Oak Hill has, but I'm guessing it's some kind of bent grass. Yeah. So, like you were talking about, if, Scotty Scheffler, if he's looking to just kind of make sure he's rolling the rock good and hitting the ball where he needs to and not going to try to grind so much to win that, I think that's a great point on why, when from a betting standpoint, not only in daily fantasy sports, but also just picking to win in top 5 and top 10, which we're going to discuss, he may not be the right pick this week for all those reasons you just said, showing how difficult it is to win on the PGA Tour. Coach Jones from FSU was mentioning, average on time, you win one PGA Tour event every 2 years, let alone win back-to-back going into a major championship. It just happens so infrequently.
Same reason you don't bet on guys to win back-to-back weeks. I mean, I think Tiger Woods in the early 2000s and 2010s kind of warped a lot of golf fans' minds about how easy it is to win golf tournaments, when the reality is, outside of him, that just does not happen on a regular basis. And Scheffler, by the way, he's very expensive on DraftKings. He's $11,300. That's part of why he's not in my lineup. And with Spieth withdrawing, he went from 5-1 to win to plus 350, which, I mean, just yuck. That is not the kind of odds you want for a guy to win a tournament. You just said the average guy on tour wins once every 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Just so many things that, Jay just goes in there and said, oh, this guy looks good. I'll pick him.
I'm looking
so many factors that go into. No, you could end up making some stuff happen doing it that way too, but analytics are there for a reason.
Yeah, and Trey was talking, FSU men's golf coach, we were talking about international players and about the wind, and he even mentioned Texas in our interview last week. Yep. And so, you're looking at like Jimmy Walker, I don't know about some other guys from Texas, but do you pick these guys that you're hoping for a little win this week? I mean, I've been in Dallas before. It's about as windy in Dallas as it is here on the coast. In my opinion, what do you think, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, and you kind of always grow up, especially West Texas. Yeah. West Texas, where it gets real flat, Texas Tech, Lubbock. You've got anybody that ever played at Texas Tech, they know how to play in the wind. But yeah, it's a great point. That's it's not just the course, it's the conditions they're playing in as well. But Keith, we got about 2 minutes left before our next break. Why don't you kind of start jumping into those lineups a little bit?
All right, I'll give you my most expensive play this week. It's not surprising. It's KH Lee, 9,300. He's won back-to-back here. He's 51 under par the last 2 years at TPC Craig Ranch. He's not had a stellar 2023, but he's coming off a T8 finish at Wells Fargo. And when you look at it, he wasn't playing well in 21 or 22 coming into this tournament. And he did the same thing where he had one of his best starts at the Wells Fargo in about a month. He's top 35 in the field around the green, tee to green, total strokes gained, approach, and putting. And, so I have him in my official lineup, part of my 10 plays. I also have him 22-1 to win and 5-1 to top 5. And I know we talked about how hard it is to, win at the same venue over and over and over again or back-to-back. I just 51 under for 2 straight tournaments, and this course is literally built for him, and we have seen guys have real success. I'd be shocked if he doesn't do well here. Obviously, winning is going to, be another thing, but I definitely think he's going to be top 10.
Yeah, and you mentioned, that's Wyndham Clark last year. You talk about how well he played that golf course, and he likes the the big golf courses and the big time stuff. And that's I just went into, it's not DraftKings, but I do a Yahoo Fantasy one with a couple friends that we used to do it on DraftKings, but we're doing it on there now, and I just swapped out for Lee.
Yeah, there you go.
It just seemed like the right move at the right time. So
he's cheap too at 9,300 for a guy again that's 51 under at this venue the last 2 years. And no offense to Tom Kim, who's a great player, got a lot of talent. He's 100 more, and the dude's never even won on tour.
Yep.
So those are the kind of things to me where you can really find advantage and value in a guy that, don't get me wrong, he's probably going to be a popular play, but I don't think enough people are going to be using him at that price point, which you should.
Well, and ironically, that's who I just swapped players for. Ooh, good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff, that's for sure. Hey, Keith, we got a break coming up here in just a couple minutes. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on the line for one more segment with Keith Fleming. He's a writer for Fantasy Six Pack, director of daily fantasy sports content for Fantasy and Frames, as well as host of Two Off the Tee. You can follow him on Twitter at Keith Fleming. Don't forget, we're sitting inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. Go visit them on 23rd 23rd Street. That address is 2251 West 23rd Street in Panama City. You can call the dealership at 850-250-1403. You can reach out to Kramer Marine at 850-851-0453. Mr. Chris Kramer himself will be in studio with us tomorrow for Kramer Day. Don't forget about South Oak Title and Closing, 20 great locations across the country, including 4 right here in the Panhandle of Florida. Any top real estate agents and companies, they use South Oak Title and Closing because they are the best in our area. Smooth, seamless clothing. All their offices are absolutely beautiful, state-of-the-art. All those closing agents know what they're doing, and there's a reason why Beach House Sales and Development chooses South Oak Title and Closing for all their real estate closing needs. Again, you're listening to Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 in Panama City, 101.9 along the Forgotten Coast, as well as 102.1 up in Marietta. We'll be right back with Keith Fleming.
ESPN Northwest Florida has the real local fishing report. Hi, this is Tim from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. Join me every Friday at 4:20 during the afternoon Underdogs. It's accurate, detailed content from local anglers, plus fishing updates on Saturday and Sunday morning right when you hit the water. Advice and stories from local anglers. Tune into the Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle Fishing Report, exclusively on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with your forecast on this Wednesday. Some sun the remainder of the day with a gentle breeze out of the southwest at 9 miles per hour and look for it to be 83. Tonight, there will be partly cloudy skies with the temperature reaching 72. Partly cloudy much of the day, but with a chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon and evening tomorrow with a high of 81. This weather is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
It's a Chips Ahoy Oreo Cookie Blast at Krispy Kreme Donuts, matey. Shiver me timbers. You'll receive 2 soft Chips Ahoy cookies stuffed inside a Krispy Kreme donut. And you can wash it all down with an Oreo frozen latte. Now at Krispy Kreme Donuts, next to HCA Hospital, 23rd Street, Panama City, and the Ross Clark Circle in Dothan.
The only place to get sports betting coverage on the radio. Is this legal? Broadcasting from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. It's the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Inside Drive live inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. If you listen to that line coming back in, no betting is not legal in Florida. However, there's ways to do things. But of course, those daily fantasy sports on DraftKings and FanDuel are legal for anyone in the state of Florida to do, and you can win a lot of money doing it. Speaking of that, we've got Keith Fleming on the line. He is our regular Wednesday contributor. He's a writer for the Fantasy Six Pack, director of daily fantasy sports content for Fantasy and Frames, as well as host of 2 Off the Tee. I know he's also a big Atlanta Braves fan. And speaking of the Atlanta Braves, don't forget the Atlanta Braves are live here on ESPN Northwest Florida, as we are the host of the Atlanta Braves. They got another big game tonight against the Boston Red Sox. That first pitch is at 6:20. You'll be able to join that game right after the afternoon Underdogs. Jay, I don't know about you, but when I drive around Panama City and Panama City Beach, my dial is only on one station, and that's 104.3.
Same here, Ryan.
Yep. So, don't forget, then the Atlanta Braves are sponsored locally by Bestway Portable Buildings, Dave & Buster's, PCB Hobby, and Gulf Coast Aquarium. That PCB Hobby, that's right around the corner from my house, and we may or may not incentivize Liam for home runs and different things, which backfired on us at the beginning of this season because he's hit 4 home runs. And originally I put a dollar amount out there, and then Beth said, I'll double it. So he's got some serious, and he loves Pokemon and sports cards and all that cool stuff. So we spend a lot of time there at PCB
PCB
Does
Hobby.
the Beckett still exist? The Beckett, where you see the value of the baseball cards and stuff like that?
Oh, there's all sorts of stuff
like
out
the
there
magazine?
now. Yeah, I'm sure, but it's all online
Keith
now.
knows.
It's all online now. Everything's online. I'm a big fan of pricecharting.com.
There you go.
But hey, as we mentioned, we've got Keith Fleming on the line. Keith, I know you were talking about getting Lee in there, and we you just text us on the break talking about how daily fantasy sports is a lot like poker. It takes some luck, but also all about odds. So continue on with your most expensive lineup for the upcoming Byron Nelson Classic this week.
You got it. Matt Kuchar next, 9,000 on DK, back-to-back top 20s at this event. He's in good recent form with 2 top 10s and 3 top 20s in his last 6 events. Since April, he's averaging almost 4.5 shots on the field around the greens and in putting. That's a good way to score no matter where you're playing. And that is really how a player without length or somebody who gains a lot of strokes off the tee is going to compete at this event. Next up, we got Seamus Powers, 8,900.
Ooh, I got him
from
in
Ireland
already.
He is a lot like Kuchar. They're 2 of only 6 guys who are in the field to finish in the top 25 the last 2 years. Let's remember that is the first 2 years that this event was held at TPC Craig Ranch. He gains the most strokes on bent greens of any putting surface, actually by a pretty wide margin. He plays easy courses really well. And if the winds picks up, he actually plays windy courses in terms of strokes gained on the field more or better than he does on calm or moderate winds. I also have him 40-1 to win and 8-1 to top 10 is one of my plays. Moving down the board, Stefan Yager, 8,200. He finished T38 last year in his only appearance at TPC Craig Ranch. He's made the cut in 9 out of 11 events, which again, when you start to get into this price range, that is honestly, to me, the biggest factor, even more so than trying to find somebody that's going to win, because you need all 6 guys to make the cut to do well on DK. He's 25th in the field in strokes gained off the tee. He's finished inside the top 30 in 4 of his last 6 events. I have him at 8-1 to top 5 as well this week. One of my favorite plays this week, Eric Cole, 7,400. It's a great story. I don't know how well you guys know about this guy, but in 2019 he was a working golf professional because he had no status on any tours. He was given lessons, and he kept grinding, which is why you should bet on yourself and believe in yourself always. Has basically guaranteed his PGA card with his incredible play this year. He hits it plenty far, averages over 300 yards off the tee. He's a really good tee to green player. And this is the stat that just made me circle him, star him, whatever you want to call it. He is one of 4 players in the field in the top 30 in irons, putting, and birdies made. The other 3 are arguably the best 3 players in the field, Scotty Scheffler, Tyrrell Hatton, and Jason Day. That's a big deal to me. He's 15th in the field in DK points, but he's the 35th most expensive player this week. What that means is he is 15th on his average points scored in DraftKings golf tournaments. But again, there's 34 golfers that cost more to him. That is real value with Cole at that price. I also have him 12-1 to top 5 and 5-1 to top 10. And then rounding out my official lineup, I'll give you the other 4 plays that I have from my article as well, is Nate Lashley, 7,200. Again, success at this venue last year, finished T17 last year at this event. He's picked up 2 shots or more in the field and approach in 5 of his last 8 events. This is a second shot golf course, as I talked about. Really need to be well from 175 yards and in. He's got 3 straight top 40 finishes in his last 3 PGA starts, and he's 21st in the field in approach. I also have him down at 75-1 to win and 14-1 to top 5, 6-1 to top 10. He's a guy that I just kind of have a hunch about. All right, so real quickly, let me go over these additional DK plays.
Yes, please. Just jump through them real fast.
Yeah. So Jason Day, 9,400, my worst pick from last week, but he still gained shots off the tee and on the green, even in missing the cut. He is 2nd in the field in strokes gained total, 3rd to the tee to green, 5th in ball striking, 6th off the tee, top 15 and around the greens and putting. In a weak field, before the major Day has historically fared the best at. I really like Day. I expect to bounce back. I think 14-1 to win is actually not bad odds for this field. Adam Scott, 9,200. He has struggled predominantly this year just because his iron game has been awful. And for three guys like us that follow golf, that is baffling, right? Like, Adam Scott has one of the best golf swings in the game and is a great iron player. It appears he found something in between the Heritage and the Wells Fargo. After losing shots to the field on approach in 4 straight events, which is really like unheard of for Adam Scott. I went back and looked at. He picked up almost 5 shots on the field last year in approach shots. If he finds his iron game, I think that you're going to see him have another really good week. And if he does, I'm also going to be looking at him in the PGA Championship next week as kind of a sleeper. I have him at 30-1 to win. Brandon Wu coming off his 3rd place finish at the Mexico Open. He's 7,800. I just was really impressed in the way he played with Finau and Rahm in that final round. And I think it could be something that is a springboard for a very talented young player. He's 8th in the field in DraftKings points, but there are 23 golfers who are more expensive. I like that. And then Ben Griffin, another low-cost player with a good record of making cuts. He's made the cuts in 8 of 11 events. He's 7,500. Again, Griffin is 17th in DK points in the field, but 31st most expensive golfer. And then to make you feel a little better, I got Tom Kim. Is 2 guys that actually looked up in the last day, 9,600. He is top 5 in the field in total strokes gained, tee to green, ball striking, and approach. He makes a ton of birdies. That is good for DraftKings. And then another one of my favorite cheat plays this week, Vince Whaley, 6,500. Now, he's making his first start since October, but he has finished 25th and 26th in the last 2 years at this event, and he's 6,500. Again, there was only 6 guys in the field that have finished top 25 the last 2 years. He would have been the 7th, obviously, to finish 1 place better in 2021. But I really like seeing a guy at 6,500 who obviously plays this course and feels comfortable on it. So he's somebody that after I did my article and did more research, I really like and added him as well.
Oh, Keith, the Vince Whaley pick, did you talk to Jeremy Adams about that at all? Or
is that one of his guys?
It was a couple years ago. I was just
I did not know
I had to throw that in there.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. But no, great, man. I love it. I've already doubled. I did a double up for the first time, man. So I picked your guys, and so I'm looking forward to what that brings over the weekend.
And for your listeners, Ryan, who play and watch a lot of golf, there is a lot to just knowing what kind of golfers are. And I feel like if you're somebody who watches golf on a regular basis, you're going to pick up naturally, like, these players play long courses well. These players are really good putters, or they have a really good short game. And if you will just do some research, and you can find it a million places by just searching the golf course for that week. And there's all kinds of write-ups, including like in mine on Fantasy Six Pack that gives a description of the course. It's okay to trust your instincts if you watch a lot of golf, that you kind of know these kind of golfers play well here. And you might be a little better suited at it than you think, because it's so confusing, obviously, with the price and stuff when you first get in it. But in reality, if you watch a lot of golf and you kind of know what kind of golfers do well at certain events, you can learn a lot and do pretty well just by figuring out what kind of course it is or what kind of golfers play well at the upcoming venue.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, why don't you just go through real quick, pivoting from daily fantasy points, but, you're 1 for 1. So let's might not make it 2 for 2. Just go real quick through some of your picks to win top 5 and top 10.
All right, you got it. The picks to win, I got Day 14-1, KH Lee 22-1, Adam Scott 30-1, Seamus Power 40-1, Brandon Wu 50-1, and Nate Lashley 75-1. I did not go in on a lot of props and bets this week just because, again, I said it's kind of a weird event. But top 5, again, I got Lee 5-1, Stefan Yager 8-1, Power again at 8-1, Minwoo Lee plus 850. I just think he's a really talented guy to top 5 at plus 850. He's got 4 top 6 finishes in his last 9 events on the PGA and World Tour, so it's not out of the realm that he could end up, having a top 5 this week. Davis Riley is another guy. He's 9-1 to top 5. He finished T9th in this event last year. He's very hit or miss. He's got 3 top 30 finishes in his last 6 events, but he's also got 3 missed cuts. but his game is good for this course. Obviously, he had a top 10 there last year. Cole and Lashley, who I both talked about, I have them at 12 and 14-1 to top 5. And then again, the top 10 is similar. Eric Cole 5-1, Nate Lashley 6-1. I have Vince Whaley, who I talked about, 14-1 to top 10, 7-1 to top 20. And then the other two names I have is Robbie Shelton 9-1. He's missed a cut in 4 of his last 5 events, which I know is scary, but he has a 15th place in the middle of those 5. And he has 4 other top 20s and 2 top 10s in the 7 events before that cold spell. So I think you're getting a little value at him, 9-1 for a guy who's had so many top 10s and top 20s already this season. And then another kind of flyer is Patton Kazir, 10-1. He finished. There you go, War Eagle. He finished T3rd here in 2021. Again, this is kind of a field play, but he has the length to overpower this course. And when his irons are on, I mean, he really is. He's a ball striker. I like those odds at 10-1 for a top 10 for a guy, again, that just 2 years ago finished T3rd at this, venue.
May or may not just put $10 on Patton Kazire to top 10.
Yeah.
While we're sitting here.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Hey, so Keith, let's we'll save all the PGA Championship stuff to next week because that'll be a lot of stuff to dive into. But
yeah, can't wait, man.
Give us your thoughts on the NBA playoffs, the games last night, and then maybe some good action for tonight's games.
Wow. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think the NBA Finals teams are both done? Because the Celtics are down 3-2, Warriors down 3-1. Do you think either one of them survive these series?
I don't think the Warriors survive. I think the Celtics got a chance to even up the series and then take it in Game 7. But, it's the Heat right now. Those South Florida teams, both in NBA and hockey, are looking really strong.
Yeah.
Freaking Jimmy Butler, man.
Jimmy Butler. We could have LeBron and Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And could you imagine being a Sixers fan, which obviously now it's not as bad because you're up 3-2 and it looks like you're going to have a chance playing Eastern Conference Finals again. But this is a team that selected Markelle Fultz over Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
And then also traded Jimmy Butler because he didn't get along with Ben Simmons.
Yep.
So that's rough, man. That would be really tough if I was a Sixers fan and they ended up not getting to the finals this year, knowing that, you could have a much better team. So really for me, the storyline the rest of the way is who gains the most from winning this title? Because I still feel it's the most wide open NBA playoffs that I can remember in forever. I think obviously Jimmy Butler would have to be number 1 because if he won a title with this group, I actually think it'd be more impressive than what Kawhi Leonard did with the Raptors a few years ago, which I feel like that was a much better all-around team. And then you get into LeBron, obviously winning that 5th title, the 2nd in LA. It would be, it's going to start the Jordan LeBron stuff, which I hate. They're both great. Let's just not even discuss it.
Two completely different eras.
And I don't like comparing eras. I think it's stupid. And then, Jokic, who, God almighty, I got to admit, I don't watch a lot of him because he's on the West Coast. I'm asleep, 30 minutes into most games that tip off. But when you watch this guy, he's unbelievable. He scored 53 points in a loss the other day. He keeps having these 25-plus point triple-doubles in the playoffs. And in a lot of ways, I would like for them to win the title just because I think he is the best player in the game right now. He at least offensively for sure is. And I always enjoy, new teams kind of getting their moment. And, for the Denver Nuggets, it would obviously be a huge deal for them to win the title. But I still have a feeling it's going to be the Lakers as long as AD and LeBron don't get hurt. And I've been saying this for about a month, that if you look at their record in the playoffs, when they're healthy, they're really good. They won the title in the bubble. They were up 2-1 on the Suns before AD got hurt. It's 2 of the best players in the league, and they've got it. Their GM deserves a lot of credit for completely rebuilding that team in the middle of the season. And they have a lot of role players that, one day it's Walker scoring 24, D'Angelo Russell has 31 on another game. It's every night it's a different player. And when you have LeBron and AD to go along with that, that's a big deal.
AD is kind of the if he's having a good night, the Lakers seem to win, and if he's not having quite, if one of the other guys doesn't step up as much, it's a little tougher. But if he stays healthy and continues doing what he's doing for the rest of the playoffs, we could have that Jimmy Butler, LeBron James final again, which would be pretty exciting, that's for sure. Hey, Keith, we're running up against a break. That was a quick 40 minutes, and we appreciate you as always. Hopefully our listeners were writing down their notes, but the good thing is you can always go back and watch it on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Keith Fleming, he's a writer for the Fantasy Six Pack, director of daily fantasy sports content for Fantasy and Frames, as well as host of Two Off the Tee. If you're on Twitter, go check him out at Keith Fleming, and you can see all these awesome podcasts and get all the information you may need to put some more cash in your pocket. Keith, we appreciate you as always. We look forward to talking to you again next week about the PGA Championship.
Man, I can't wait. Really appreciate you guys. That's always.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure, Keith. You're listening to the Inside Drive live on ESPN Northwest Florida. We're sitting inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. You're listening on 104.3 in Panama City, 101.9 along the Forgotten Coast. And even though that tower got knocked down this morning up there in Mariana, all is well, because you can stream it live on ESPNPC.com or download our free app in the Google Play or Apple Store. When we get back, we're going to ask Jay some more of those tough questions in this final segment, which kind of seems to be our theme. You're listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Suffer from political talk radio fatigue.
We know that under the 49% rate, the U.S.
Tune into the most fun and exciting new radio show on the Gulf Coast. It's The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey. From the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. Middays 11 to 1 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Turf Pro Lawn and Pest Control. They take pride in caring for their customers' property by providing lawn and whole house pest control. Whether you have roaches or any other unwanted bugs in your home, Turf Pro has you covered. Or if your lawn needs weed control, fertilize, insect control, Turf Pro has you covered by providing custom treatments to meet your property's needs. No property is the same, so why should it be treated that way? Turf Pro, where the blue and yellow trucks make your lawn green. Call 850-890-5820.
Sykes Concrete has been in business in this area since 1947, and 3 generations later, they're still going strong. See Sykes Concrete for dirt, sand, rock, and concrete. They can handle any size job from the smallest to the largest. Sykes Concrete pays CDL truck drivers some of the highest wages in Bay County, making $50,000 to $75,000 a year, including holiday and vacation pay, plus health insurance. See Hugh Sykes at Sykes Concrete, 8030 Highway 77 on the right, just north of Southport Elementary School.
As a dentist, I know what my patients are saying when they really can't speak. She says her gums have been bleeding. Is there anything you can do? Absolutely. You can try New Crest Gum Detoxify and Restore. Yup, New Crest Gum Detoxify and Restore is professionally designed to start healing gums from day one. Right. Healthy gums, healthy mouth.
Crest Gum Detoxify and Restore. Smile. Crest has you covered.
The locals love it.
You're gonna love this. You are my favorite. It's my favorite.
Everybody's favorite. The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey. Live from the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios on ESPN Northwest Florida.
And welcome back. We are about to jump into our final segment on this Wednesday edition of the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Florida. As always, we're sitting inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine and Outdoor Studios. You can check them out on 23rd Street. Mr. Chris Kramer himself will be in the studio with us tomorrow, as Thursday is always Kramer Day. We appreciate Keith Fleming and all his beautiful insights on that daily fantasy betting, which is not actually sports betting, it's fantasy sports, which you can do legally here in the state of Florida. Yeah. So we encourage you to check out his tip. He's always calling me during the show. Hopefully he won his golf tournament. But we do have a caller on the line. Oh, your friend Hef is on the line. You wanted to get his. I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, Hef. Good afternoon, sir. How you doing?
What's happening?
Hey, not much. What's Are you traveling in the Panhandle this afternoon?
Yes, I am. I'm actually rolling out of PC right now.
All right, headed back to the state of Georgia. Well, be safe out there, man. Glad to have you on. Glad to have you on.
I heard you guys,
go ahead.
I heard you guys a little bit talking about who you like to hate on, right?
Yeah, of course. I think we have a mutual one there, Hef. That's for sure. But we can both say we hate the Eagles, so we're good there.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I didn't want to take it the other way, so I'm glad you took the high road, man. That was nice. I like that.
Not always, but I tried to as much as I can. I gotta keep my reputation up around these parts.
Well, you know, I live out western Georgia, so I'm always having to battle the Alabama bandwagon jumpers out there, and so you know. So I'm not a big Alabama fan, but anybody in the SEC, you know, us dogs, you know, we don't really like any of them.
Hey, you know,
so
you're from a town. You're from a town of Tallapoosa, Georgia. I mean, you got to protect that border over there between Georgia and Alabama, man. You're right there on the line, right?
I'm a driver in a Freewood from the border.
Okay, there you go. There's
Bama flags flying everywhere, so I got to keep my Georgia stuff rolling. But
that's right.
That's you know how it is in the SEC. It's you know you really don't like anybody else.
Yeah.
And you know you've got to be real. College football's extreme. You know, there's a lot of times you can pull for NFL teams. You're like, oh yeah, that's not bad. You know, Falcons. That's my home state team. You know, like to see them do well. But no, that. Can we get into some golf?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I just want to say, I want to profess my thanks to the LIV for taking literally everybody I don't really pull for out of. I don't have to see all those people anymore. It's great. Like the PGA is full of the people I love now.
See, there you go. Okay, I got you.
See, look what you started earlier, Jay.
Well, I mean, like let's dig a little deeper with this, Hef. I mean, what?
Well, I'm just all right. I'll just be straight. I think LIV is un-American. I mean, Ian Poulter. I mean, the guy that's never lost the Ryder Cup match against the United States.
Yeah,
he's like the poster boy there. So,
well, good thing he's not from America.
I know.
You're typically un-American when you aren't from America.
Well, for us to be pulling for LIV, man.
Yeah. No.
I like to joke around about it. Henley and I always kid around because, like, when everybody was making the move, I was like, man, we lost another one I don't like. It's awesome. This is fantastic.
It's like Paul Christo. He absolutely despises the LIV Tour. Okay. We get into conversations all the time. And like I mentioned, I pull for everything golf because the more people are talking about and doing golf and the more action you can see, it's just good for the business in general. But yeah, it definitely has been a talking point.
I agree with you. I agree with you, but you know, like I've seen a couple of clips, and it's like I told Henley, it's like Happy Gilmore. You know how the matches were in Happy Gilmore in the movie. That seems to be like what they're going for, where everybody's screaming and yelling, and you know, it's pretty funny. But
TPC Scottsdale, stadium course.
Yeah.
Why does everybody love TPC Scottsdale so much?
Right.
Same thing.
This is true.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I love this topic. It's such a fun one.
I agree with you though. I think getting it out of that. You know, getting a little bit of that, going that direction is good. And I do think that overall, yes, it's good for golf. Because it gives us something to talk about.
Yeah.
And, you know, something out of the ordinary.
Well, it's really been on golf side of things, sports. You know, you were talking about in Alabama and Georgia and the hatred. We're talking about hatred of another sports team because you're so passionate about that's now all of a sudden been created in golf where that really wasn't a thing before. Is, you know, you may not like another player or something like that, but then to have this line that was drawn in the proverbial sand between the LIV Tour and the PGA Tour, it's very similar to all these other sports rivalries when you hate Alabama or you hate the Philadelphia Eagles, and you know, it's just that passion. Now you have it between two tours, and I hope at some point in the future there's some kind of match between the two, because I just think that would be unbelievably good for golf, regardless if one of them smokes the other one or not.
Yeah. Well, Well, I was going to ask you, from a Braves, I'm gonna pivot over to Braves because so what would be your hate root team? If you're a Braves fan like me and you, who are you going with there, Huff?
It's
a tough one, man. I mean,
yeah, I'm not because there's so many games. It's really hard to. It's different, It's different than like a college football. They're just there's so many games. It's like, who did you choose on that?
I went with the Mets. I mean, they've got a little bit of a thing going, now, which it's been like that for years. I think Glavine went to pitch for the Mets, didn't he? I can't.
Oh
remember.
yeah, that's right. I remember that.
Yeah. So we've lost some good players to the Mets.
Yeah, we have. We have. They just go and pay and. Oh, exactly like the Live Tour.
I was literally about to say that. But y'all don't hate Tom Glavine, do you?
No. The baseball's different. It's funny to me. Baseball, I don't, I still pull for them when they go away as long as they're not playing on that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's the beauty of baseball.
Like Live, though, Live is perfect because it was like everybody I didn't like went. So it worked out for me. So I think that's, I would think it would be really cool, to do, like you said, have them do a big Live versus PGA.
The PGA Tour is going to be the one that has to agree to that and be good with it because, the Live Tour would do it in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah, they're looking for publicity.
Yep, absolutely.
Hef, what about Phil Mickelson? What about Phil Mickelson, man? What's what you got? What you got there?
Oh, I'm not a fan. Not a fan.
Well, and Phil Mickelson, if you ask every other PGA Tour player, he was the fans loved him because he was charismatic with the fans and all that stuff. But if you ask a lot of the guys on tour, nobody liked Phil. So I think him going to Live was although now he's a top 10 Forbes earning athlete for last year.
We learned that which
we discussed earlier this week.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Well, hey, he's taking care of his deal. I got tickled at him at that Live conference when they were asking about what do you think about human rights, and he's like, well, of course we don't support anything bad, but give me that money and we're good. I can deal with it.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. That's so mean, but it's true. I get it. I understand. Right? It makes sense. I see. You feel like some people feel like they're kind of on the downturn. I just kind of thought Phil was going to ease on over into the senior, and he would dominate there.
He played a little bit on the senior tier, and he did exactly that.
Yeah.
But I think some of these guys, the Phils, and I don't think Tiger or whatever, he may play in a couple events or something like that. Yeah. But some of these guys, it's changed so much where 20 years ago you had the group of Freddie and Tom Lehman and Fred Funk and those guys, Vijay Singh, they've transitioned beautifully to the senior tour. But then after their kind of generation of golfers, the Tiger Woods, the Phil Mickelsons, all these big time, the Rory McIlroys, all these guys, I just don't see them ever going to the senior tour just because of how much golf's changed in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody's in a lot better shape. Things are way different fitness-wise in golf now, and I think it's fun. It's fun, though, to think about it because really I don't dislike any of these golfers. Like Henley's a lot like me. We're such Tiger fans back in the day, and still, it's like anybody that, if you look at the stats, there's no comparison, anyway. But even back in Tiger's heyday, anybody that would threaten or was even coming close to competing with Tiger, they automatically got on the hate list.
Well,
just stayed on there for all these years.
Yeah, and Hef, look, best score to par in majors from 1997 to 2009. Tiger Woods was 134 under par. Phil Mickelson was 99 over par, and Ernie Els was 118 over par. So, that right there, that's unbelievable. In 12 years.
And he was running around with Waffle House waitresses the whole time, too, which was absolutely impressive. No dig to Waffle House. It's like my favorite restaurant.
Low blow, Ryan. We don't talk about his personal life, man.
No, we don't talk about his personal life. Oh man, I love it. I love it. No, I thought it was a positive to be able to do that and do what he did on the golf course.
Yeah,
that takes more talent than any other athlete we've ever seen.
You got a point. He was a juggler. He was doing some juggling.
Oh yeah,
that in itself is an art.
Literally and figuratively.
So long.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But no, Henley and I we're just like massive Tiger fans, and I mean, as most people in our,
Oh yeah, so is Keith, the guy we just had on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't not like Tiger. What he did for the game is absolutely nothing like that'll ever happen again. That's for sure. Keith just texted us something about Tiger.
Well, just that stat that Jay threw out just now. I mean, that's how incredible is that? And I was telling Henley a while back. If you follow Justin Ray on Twitter, he's got some really, really strong stats, and he's going really, really granular with a lot of Tiger stats. And if you look at it, it absolutely is astounding what he did in that run, And
no, we'll never see anything like it again in golf.
Yeah, and you always get into the Jack versus Tiger and all of that. But, man, there's so many variables there. It's really hard to compare that.
You really can't. It's kind of like the whole Jordan-LeBron debate. It's just two different eras of the sport that are very difficult to compare.
Yeah.
That's right. But it's fun to talk about, though.
Hey, Hef, we're running up on the end of our show. Thank you for calling. I hope you call again in soon because I feel like there's a lot of fun stuff we could talk about here in the future.
Yeah, man.
Good to hear from you,
Thanks
Hef.
a lot for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Drive safe out there.
Drive safe, Hef.
Hey, Jay, it's been another great show. A little quick update on the FSU Seminoles. They're currently tied in that 5th spot. I need to do some research and figure out how they resolve that ties. But Arizona State's still on the golf course. They're +6. Florida State's +6, but they're done. So hopefully Arizona State maybe makes one of the Florida State girls made a double bogey on 18, which kind of dropped them back into that spot.
Yeah.
But so hopefully Arizona State, I never like to wish ill will upon anybody else, but maybe they'll make a double or two coming in. And Florida State can sneak into that 5th spot, which would be absolutely awesome going on in the national championship. Failed to mention it earlier today, but congratulations to the Bluntstown Bluntstown 4-star safety Jordan Pride. He actually signed with Texas A&M University yesterday. He had been committed to FSU, but then he decommitted in April. So congratulations to local boy Jordan Pride on going to an Aggie. To be a Texas A&M Aggie with Ethan Boyd. It's been a blast today, Jay. A great show, a lot of fun. We look forward to doing it again tomorrow. Chris Kramer will be in studio. You've been listening to the Inside Drive live here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Don't forget to go visit the afternoon underdogs over at Dave & Buster's this afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m. We will see y'all tomorrow.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Hey troops, Coach Manley from the Coach James Hale Morning Show. Now you can take me with you everywhere you go with the new app from ESPN Northwest Florida. We're going everywhere together. Tyndall Credit Union drive-through window. Hitting the links at the Sun Hills Golf Course. Whoops, sorry there, buddy. Didn't mean to hit you that. Testing the margaritas at Los Angeles.